Here I have a bit of an ancient old scale technology. Got to be careful because there's oil in this dampening thing and it will come out if you're not careful. But we've got some flickery old displays here. What is it? A Wedderburn NSC number 6/4D44. That might be the model. Terra. Is that Terra? Terroca, not sure. DIGI. And we can type in the price per kilo. But pressing down on this thing doesn't seem to do anything. Ooh, something just happened. Oh, it's actually working now, so as it warms up it gets a bit better, I think. Let's try clearing it. Still saying 20 in the weight though. Maybe because I've got it on an angle, don't know. At least it's doing something now. But it does have some old capacitors in here. Matsushita ones, I think. The ones that like to die on national televisions and stuff. So it could have a lot of ripple coming out of something like that. The old, I don't know if you can even see it. That's the power section. Old school keyboard on it. Probably old reed switches or something. But I mainly just wanted to have a look and see what this had in the way of... Oh, power's gone off. I just grabbed this thing just to see some of the old electronics again and what sort of old chips it had in it. Though of course you can't see any of their chips at the moment. And the thing just seemed to have turned off. Oh, there it is. It's got a power switch hidden under here, which I just bumped. Forgot that was under there. Uh-oh. Displays came on, reset, and died. So I know it was doing some weird stuff. Maybe now it's warmed up, it's actually stopped working altogether, or displaying altogether. Looks like it's been approved by the Queensland Trade Measures Act of 1990. I think this is sort of 80s technology, maybe even 70s. It comes up with the displays, went off, it came back on. And this time it reset and it's staying up. But you can kind of see the multiplexing running slow on some of the segments. Some of these keys don't work. And no, it doesn't register any weight. So I don't know if I should pull those caps out first. And it has a bit of corrosion down in there. Some of that oil or something's got in there. I'm not sure where the strain gauge, it must go up under there somewhere maybe. It has a strain gauge or what it has in this thing. I think it's pulling on something, maybe it goes right up inside there. But you can hear a strange noise, that's just this oil damper thing. There's some little bits of what look like metal in there, so I guess that may be to get the, yeah, look at that, little punched out bits of metal that have come possibly from making this exact device. They probably put them in there to get it balanced with the metal piece that goes over here, so it's the exact right weight. Okay, found the problem with the flickering display. I guess I better measure the voltage here and see what it was. It was about 170 volts there. Because these displays are something, they run off something like an IGI tube, high voltage DC. I have to look up exactly what they are, some sort of gas discharge tube, but they're not the usual fluorescent type ones. And there's this cap on the end here of the 4 up against the heatsink 350 volt 22 mic, one lead completely rotted off it, which is often what happened with these old Matsushita caps. I actually found some info on this thing online. This DIGI is the company. That other Japanese name, there is a badge down the front here. That's the guy who set the business up. It's been going around 100 years or something, and they're still in business. And according to their website, they've actually got a picture of something like this one, and it came out around 1973. And this Australian company, which had a little badge on here, Wedderburn, they're still in business as well. They started, I think, 1896 or something, they say on their website. So there's a couple of companies still going, and they sell scales and stuff still, so they obviously got their little badge put on these ones that were made in Japan. But anyway, that fixed the flickering. I guess I should measure, see what that voltage is now. I bet it's gone up a bit. Would have been just a lot of ripple and stuff there. The other thing is this heatsink has 2 nylon screws holding it down with a couple of insulators underneath, and they broke when I undid them. Heads came off. Luckily the little shaft bit unscrewed alright from the bottom by hand. But they're quite a thick one. They're thicker than a lot of the ones used on transistors. I managed to find one to replace one side that I had second hand. Other side I ended up just putting a very thin screw through the original threaded hole and used a TO220 type insulator on that. The one that insulates the screw hole where you go through on the transistor tab. And that works fine, but that is meant to be insulated. So it must be one of these transistors, even though they look like they're insulated, must be connected to it, or they want it insulated for some reason. So we might even, I think I can fire this up. I've got the keyboard unplugged, had several keys, the 5, the 0, didn't work. You've got to unsolder the whole board off the back, and unfortunately, as I was trying to prise it off, because you've got a lot of solder joints there, and it starts coming loose, and you may have to get the soldering on a few that are still sticking. Because it suddenly let go, and I actually snapped one of the only probably good switches in here, which is the star switch. I found out online there's actually some government info when these machines were registered for use in Australia, and that is supposedly for printer or some sort of comms port. There's a little comms port on the end here, which you can't really see, but you take the cover off. It's one of those, it's like a short Centronics type printer port, one of those sort of D-shaped things, but it's got the slot in it to plug into, not pins like a normal D connector. It's more like an inverse edge connector kind of thing. And once you get that off, you can pop these little switches out. I've pulled one all to bits, one at the, what was it, the 5, yeah. And yeah, a bit of a mess to work on these things, but the back part just pops off with a couple of little tabs. You just lift them and it comes off. Then you got the little circuit board bit in there, and this one, and there's a little plastic piece that's stuck to that. Then there was this metal spring over the top of it, I think. How did that go? Yeah, in like that, I think. No, the other way around. Yeah, oh, it's stuck up in the air like that, I think. Bit of a weird design. But this one has a lot of corrosion in it, and when I started peeling this off, it actually came right off. This gold sort of circuit board track goes to a contact there, and then this plastic bit, there's another gold bit, gets pushed down by that spring, so it's between the plastic and the circuit board, and it's basically tore off this bit here, which almost looks like I ripped it off, but I think it was already, well, it must have been open circuit, because there was definitely no connection there. So I have to see how I can possibly maybe solder a little wire onto that and back onto this or something. Not sure why it comes across this other direction, almost joins back onto the other piece. But I reckon it must have, on this end here, it must have corroded through or something. Even though the gold's pretty good, there's a lot of green stuff growing in there. And we'll have to look at some of these other ones and see if we can fix them. But yeah, unfortunately it snapped the circuit board bit off that, although that may be redeemable. I can probably run a little wire. Well, actually I can still tin that bit that's there, so we might be able to save that switch. I think most of the other ones work, so I'm not going to pull any more apart than I have to. Really, I should take them out and clean this because it's pretty corroded. But that'll be my next little job, is to pull any faulty switches apart and fix that. I guess what I could do, and to get this part out, basically this it's still connected by the wires at the moment. You just take this as a big plastic sheet, big plastic bit underneath. This needs a massive clean up because it's absolutely filthy. Got oil, grease, I don't know what, all over it. Had all sorts of like wasp nests and stuff on it. Mud dauber wasps or potter wasps, whatever, muddy sort of cocoon things. But you take that off and then a few screws and this whole chassis comes out. So not too bad to work on. You've just got to tip it up a bit again, being careful that oil doesn't come out. But you can tilt it on an angle, undo all the screws on one side and the end, and then tip the other side up. And that comes apart. But I might see if we can, I think it should be safe to plug this in as is. And maybe see what that voltage, other voltages all seem to be negative voltages. There's a power switch here too. I don't think I unplugged anything else, but we've got no display. Oh, we've got the R light. I forget what the R light was for. It did say on that website. Oh, wait, if I press it. Oh, now we've got displays back up. Oh, it's actually measuring now. Ah. Well, it's trying to, I think. Yeah, 7 kilos. Let off, it goes back to 6.4 kilos and doesn't reset. And I can't reset anything. I can't punch any numbers in, but at least we're getting a measurement now. I'm not sure if I actually checked that and it's staying there, so maybe it holds the weight there till you reset it. But what I wanted to look at is what was the voltage. Now which one's ground, and this is the other problem. I think it's that end green wire. End green wire is ground. I think the red was the high voltage. Yeah, it's up to nearly 200 volts, 197 volts now. I guess I should be careful, that heatsink could be live in some way. Minus 15, minus 7. Oh, that connector wasn't exactly in the best. 7.6. Oh, yeah, minus 15. Get in there. Minus 7, so don't know what that connector does, but it's pretty loose. Not ideal. Oh, now all the lights have gone out again. Rather random, that's for sure. So maybe we've created another problem. We don't have the R light, we don't have any lights now, so it's a bit of an interesting machine, that's for sure. Does some pretty random stuff. Maybe there's more problems in the logic up here. Maybe I'm just not using it right. Let's turn it off and on again. And I've only got a 10 microfarad cap in there too. I don't have any 20s or 22, whatever it was. I better get one on order. Yeah, 22. Yeah, now it just comes up with nothing. I've got the red light on again. Oh yeah, now we've got displays. Oh, and the other side's actually orange. I forgot there was a second side to this. Oh, so that's got some orange. These are red. One's got a yellow filter, blue filter, but they still come through as red. Yeah, the other side's actually got some nice orange displays. Red for total price. So that must be the customer side. Weight. Price per kilo. Yeah, so different setup for the consumer side. They were sort of saying this was one of the first ergonomically designed scales because it was made for easily putting the weight, whatever you're weighing on there, down low, and the prices were up high. I guess mainly for the customer more than the person using it, because they're probably looking down at this anyway when they're putting their stuff on it. So yeah, quite an old unit now, going on the 50-year mark. But at least we're getting there, so if I can get the worst of this keyboard working again, it'll be good. That one's a click switch, and that I don't think was actually working either. So I may have to fix that. It's missing a button, which I don't think, no, I had a bag with some rusty screws in it, but none of that. And that was the bit that went, oh, is that one? Ah, is that why it doesn't have a button on it? It's not actually, so maybe it's a service switch or something. Either way, it doesn't seem to do anything. Maybe there's no contacts in there at all. Interesting. It's the only latching one, so yeah, maybe they set that in one position or another, but like I say, it doesn't seem to be settable at the moment. Yeah, well there you go. So I didn't break that. I thought that must have got broken while I had it lying around, or it was already broken when I bought it, but there you go, it's not actually busted. That's a good thing. Okay, this is the number 5 switch that I already disassembled. And I'm missing a couple of bits that I put over to the side. So I'm not sure if I just ripped that thing or whether it was open circuit, but it definitely wasn't working, this switch. And there wasn't any corrosion in the contacts themselves by the look of it. Well, let's give it a clean up. It's certainly had a hard life. This thing looks like it's been in a greasy environment. So maybe a bit of meat or something's been on it and got down into the thing. There's some bit of grot there. Or is that a bit of plastic left over? Hard to even see what I'm doing. What is that? I think that's the bit that tore or corroded through, whatever it did. What is going on there? I'm not even sure what I'm looking at there. Something's, is that a bit of metal folded over maybe? Oh yeah. Oh, so that's the plastic layer maybe. Must be something to do with the plastic there. So what have they done? They got the track comes up and folds over itself or something weird. That's basically what's going on, I think. Can I lift that up then? Oh, I've got no idea. What is that? Something soldered there. Oh, did they solder the upper part? Ah, I wonder if that solder joint has had it. I think this, yeah, this little piece here, I think was originally soldered to this lower part. And is that coming off? Something's happening. I think it just fell off, didn't it? Where'd it go? And that's some piece of plastic. Well, that's what I was going to solder to anyway. I thought if I can solder a piece of wire or something. Yeah, very strange design, but the plastic bit is definitely a separate piece, so I guess it must solder to the board somewhere, or attach in some way, because the board's a separate piece to it. Why can't I get that off? It does not want to be removed. Just very well stuck down, I think. Yeah, that certainly doesn't look the healthiest where that solder is. Something's folded over there. Yeah, it's been very corroded at some point. I'll give that a clean while I'm at it, that little contact there. I guess we might as well clean the other bit because it won't hurt to get whatever that stuff is off them. And this is just like another little track on a piece of plastic, like a little plastic circuit board, I guess. Oh, is this other side connected as well? Well, there's no reason for it to be. Well, I guess there's a bit of shielding maybe. Don't think it was ever connected, but there is another bit of what looks like metalwork around the border of it. It comes down. I don't think that was ever connected though. It's just a pattern. There's a bit of, that's just copper, I think, bare copper. So they didn't gold plate it, which makes sense. Yeah, this piece came across into that little plastic bit I just peeled off. So I'm guessing they sort of stuck this down. Not sure how they did it. Was it a bit of bare metal there maybe? They soldered that on and then pushed the plastic over it or something. So that was how it was built. So let's clean the other face of that. So I think these are probably repairable. I'm basically just largely putting it back together the way it was. But after removing, I think I actually ripped a part of it off that probably didn't have to be ripped off. Now that I know how they're built, I think that just tinned nicely. Watch it doesn't melt the plastic too much. And oh no, now I've got to find, I do have some super fine wire wrap wire somewhere, but finding that's going to be an issue, so I think I'll get a bit of normal wire like this on this old connector, and we'll just pinch a strand off it. because finding that wrap wire at the moment is not going to be easy, I don't think. There's a big bundle of it I pulled out of some bit of a gear, and it was so handy for repairing broken circuit boards and stuff over the years. But where it is these days, I think I know where it is. It's in a box, but yeah, I'm not going to try and get that out. Let's re-tin that one too. Ooh, oh, so something's coming off. That's the rest of the plastic thing. Oh, there's a big long pad there, look at that. Although the problem is, when we heat one bit up, we're going to be pulling it off again, potentially. So I'm going to have to heat this, solder this very quickly probably. Let's get that all tinned up to start with. So again, we put minimum heat in it. I can probably tin that whole gold bit there. So we get a bit more length. Oops. Let me bend that a bit. Problem is it's sinking into the bench a bit. Moved it too soon, I think. Well, it's stuck to the bench a bit, that was the problem. So we've got our little bit there. How much do we need? And where do we need it? I guess a bit of glue to hold this bit down might help as well. If worse comes to worse, that wire could just come out onto this pad. Nothing's sticking to my hand. But we need, I think we need to cut it about there. And we need to bend it very carefully. Oh. So it sits there, that's about perfect. Is it too long? It's a little bit too long. Even though if it just bends it down where it's currently going, it's not going to touch the other bit. We don't want to touch the other side and have a permanently on switch. And the problem is I should really glue this bit on first probably. I think that might be the plan. It's still a bit too long. For my liking, I don't want any risk of it shorting. So I think what I'll do, if I solder it in place though, when it's glued, I've either got to put the glue in after and move that. But if it comes off, I think I'll just carry the solder on the soldering iron and just very quickly dab that. Whether we got it or not, I don't know, but yep. Now we should be able to test that. Connect the two pads and dope. Nothing happens. Oh, there we go. So it's got to be just in the right spot, I think. Yeah, I think we can call that pretty well fixed. Let's see, I'm going to have to very gently peel that up a little bit. Yeah, I've got a bit of room to move, but it seemed to be a bit picky there. But this plastic's got a little cutout, and so does the circuit board. So if I put a little bit of contact adhesive in there, just making sure we don't put too much in there because it'll probably smear across, squeeze across and block our contacts. We don't want to coating a glue on the contacts because that'll ruin them. We'll just smear a bit down each side. Can I test it again? Beautiful. So I just might put some bit of weight on that just to keep those bits together. So this is the thing you got to do these days to keep these things going. I guess another thing I could do is, can I just reassemble this thing? Oh, I've got to get the, how was this weird spring put on here? Let's have a look at this one I broke. Then I can have two of them that I'll forget how to put back together. So you simply just lift these couple of bits. And it pretty much shoots itself off. Okay, so the spring actually goes around the circuit board. That made more sense. I just realised what it probably was meant to do. Given it's got a little bit where it sticks up. Oh, you go through, through the hole, then bend it around the end. Yeah, then you got a little bit that presses down on the switch. Now that makes sense. Now, hopefully it's a bit tight. It doesn't really fall on its own. There we go. Yeah, I think that's alright now. How does that spring up in? Push up into that spring? I have to push that down, I think, to get the spring in. A little pin the spring has to go on the end of, or has to go in the end of the spring. There we have it, but does it actually work is the next problem. Oh, we have success, I think. Excellent. So what we can do with this one is really I just have to solder something onto that bit, but not so thick that we can't get the... Well, if I just tin it, I think that's all I've got to do, because it does stick through slightly. Yeah, because that's the bit that goes through the circuit board. I think we'll have to do it on the outside of it. Let's get this part back together before we prevent it going back together. Pin up the spring. That's clipped back together. Let's check it works, I guess. I don't know if this one even works, but it should have, I would think. Oh, no way. This one doesn't work. So I broke a bad one anyway. Yep, don't think I can repair that switch. That's beyond it. But at least we've got our number 5 going again by the look of it. Do these just come off? I was now going to break it trying to get the knob off it. Maybe they don't just come off. Oh, well, in that case we'll just give it a dust. And the rest can be cleaned from above, I think. And I think the 0 was another faulty one. Just put the multimeter on the back and press them to find out. Yep. Hopefully the rest work. And hopefully this one can be repaired, because I didn't have much luck with that star key. Different colour, grey one. I wonder if that one's been replaced before or something, who knows. It's probably one of the most used ones, I guess. Although back in the day it would have been 99 cents or 95 cents later when they got rid of the smaller coins. And I'm guessing we've got something similar with this one. I was hoping I'd have found a way of just cleaning the keys, cleaning the contacts or whatever. Oh yeah, that's a bit corroded. Oh shit, it's just snapped off. Oh, look at that, it's not even bloody soldered on. So either they redesigned it so it didn't have to be soldered on, or somebody forgot to do it. It got through quality control without any quality control. I'm going to clean everything up anyway. It looked a little corroded in there. And the others, those two bits were soldered together. I mean, just having a contacting there I don't think it's going to work, is it? Can we just tin that and heat it a bit? And because I can't imagine that's going to work just by press fit. But we might be able to at least test it. Yeah, that's got to be because that's faulty. I don't know whether I can really get this to solder. I'm just thinking here, should I put a little bit of wire on this as well or something? I reckon I can get that to... Can I kind of... yeah, like that. I think I might have got it. Yeah, I think I got that soldered. Now will it work though? And then I can try and glue it back down again. Or maybe I don't really need to, I can just jam it back in there. Oh, there we go. Sort of. It's not the most reliable though. Assuming I'm making a good connection here. Now it's just the connection I'm making. Oh, is it? Still not great. These old metals really aren't very happy. Yeah, I think that's good. There we go, and that kind of flicks around the end. Let's try it again, I guess. Pressing on the metal. I think we fixed it. Well, that was lucky because, yeah, that other spare one turned out not to be a spare after all. Oh, spring. Well, that's an hour of my life I won't get back, but we've got the two switches going. Ooh, that was a bit of that other one. That other one is kaput. We'll just put that back together, I think. So it's in there. Not likely to ever use the printing function or whatever external data saving, printing, whatever that was for. Okay, I got this keyboard well sort of back together. That's not actually attached. And I've cleaned all this up a bit. Could do a little bit more work, but it's pretty good. We won't be seeing all this rusty metal. Had to fix a few of the keys. And then that one, which has lost its marking, not sure what that key does. That was actually the easiest of the lot. Just had to get some micro scrub into the contacts, peel the top layer off, scrub up the contacts, and that worked again. So that's sort of cleaned up. Should be working again. Basically just got to unsolder this whole circuit board off all the keys, and you can pop them out. They're just clipped into this metal bracket, and then dismantle them, and they're not really made to be fixed, but you can repair them. And I'm hoping all of those are working now. When I test it with a multimeter, this section all works now. So we've got that out of the way. I've now pulled the electronics out as well, and this is the unit. Circuit board, well, it's 2 circuit board layers. Don't think there's another one in between, no. And did a bit of research. I always knew these as gas discharge displays, because that's what Dick Smith used to sell them as in the late 70s. But it turns out they're actually called Panaplex, I think it is, displays. At least the American Burroughs and whatever who made them call them Panaplex. But they are basically neon. So they're like a Nixie tube, which is why they use the same high voltage of around 200 volts. But they're like a thick film, this ceramic bit on the back, and they've just, you know, compacted them down into a flat panel. Obviously these are 7-segment. Nixies have all the individual number segments as wire forms inside them. They did make a later tube, I think it was called something else, but basically looks like a Nixie tube in an old valve style cylindrical glass tube or package, but it's got the 7 segments instead of the actual number pieces. And this has got 2370. I don't know if that's anything to do with the date. I think this is, they said these were a little bit later, these machines. And these displays are all H1857Cs from Hitachi. And these chips look to be Hitachi as well, HD35110. And that's the 35111. They've actually put like a scale symbol, Terraoka, if that's how you pronounce it, the Japanese guy that was behind this company. But the fact it's got HD on it would suggest it's a Hitachi. And if you look here, Hitachi, that's actually a Fairchild, I think. Hitachi. Had to get the American content up with one F chip, I guess. 7400. And these are HD 32639, H3 3226, 3226, 3226. I don't know if these are all drivers for these panels. These panels are on edge connectors. I don't know if I dare to try and get one out of there. Got to be very careful. I think I'll leave them alone. I might even lift this other board up and see what's underneath it. Looks like there's still a few chips hiding in there, but that top board doesn't seem to have much on it. Or this board, which is the top one, this is the way it's mounted in the unit, it doesn't seem to have a lot of stuff on it. Just got to be careful because I don't want to press down on these displays. And there's a little end board there. What's that got? NEC. They're actually ICs. 8-pin ICs. C554, so probably UPC 554, whatever that is. In the old metal cans, this was still pretty popular in the 70s. Probably made sense to actually act as a bit of shielding for some of these early chips. They used to make lots of op amps and bits and pieces in that kind of package. But they eventually went to the plastic dip packaging. Not sure why. Like I say, it might have just been they improved the technology in the plastic packs or something. Obviously it would have been cheaper to make them in plastic packs. So that probably incentivized them to work out how to do it. Oh, this is going to hit on the displays, that's handy. And that still doesn't feel... Oh, it's got connectors there. Yeah, the problem is I'm going to have to remove every display, I think, to lift that up. Maybe the last two you don't... Oh, that one on this side has to go. Maybe you can leave one in, but... they do not want to come out. Oh, they're hard to get out, but that's one of them. So this is mounted the other way, so that'll be upside... Oh yes, it's got like a half. I was going to say it's 2 on 1, but half would make more sense. So you're going to have a certain amount of digits although the decimal points are on the wrong side, aren't they? You can see some sort of, is that burning or is that just muck that's built up? I think something's built up between the hotter and cooler patches on the back. That's definitely a sort of thick film type ceramic. Now the middle one's a bit, the socket's tighter, so that comes out a bit easier. I might put them back in the order they came, and I think these are all orange displays, even though a lot of them came up red. I think 4 out of the 6 came up red. But there's a red filter on the red one on that side, and behind all of them on the user's side, there's a bit of red perspex, so that must just convert it over. I had a look online, there's not many in red shown, but that's probably because the red is basically made up by a bit of perspex. So I guess if nothing else, I got myself a bunch of displays. These were relatively common in the 70s. I know some of the pinball machines with these displays look really good. And I remember I had a bunch of old machines of some sort, I think came out of the TAB or somewhere, which had like longer ones in them, I think. 6 digits, 7 digits, 8 digits, something like that. And I just threw them all on the tip, the displays and stuff, because they had 0 value back then. But now they're obviously getting a lot rarer. So let's have a look, because there's a big, what is that thing? HD 2919, 2919, 3233, 3259, 3233, 3233, and 3233. Yeah, bunches, 2 rows of those capacitors, a bunch of drive transistors, some resistor arrays, some sort of transistor, Teriyoko Mark II maybe, and that is an IC6812. It's got 2 rows of pins on it, but it's kind of a thicker plastic package, not your normal thing. That's what, in the end, I thought I'd better have a look, see what that actually is. And that's a bit of a pain to pull it all to bits. But yeah, nicely made board, really good soldering and stuff. No sign of any issues there. Usual sort of Japanese build quality. No dry joints and the like. Let's just have a quick look at this one. A couple of more of these blue electrolytics, so they could be worth checking. That one's, the plastic looks like it's going back a bit on it. I guess while I got it out, it'll be a good time to put an ESR meter on it. And I don't think I need to worry about static on these because they're all old TTL chips. Old power hungry things they were. .2, no, that should be pretty good, whatever it is. It's only 10 microfarad. Is that the other one? No, I think it's that bit there. Still measuring open circuit. I can't find that one. What do we got? A transistor. It's the end of that little transistor. I think that one's open circuit. Oh, I was to go that way. There it is. I can't see where the leads are. Oh no, it goes the other way. What the hell? You got the transistor, then one pin. That's got to be that thing. Oh, there it is. 2.8. Didn't want to connect when I first tried it. This bit probably didn't run that hot. Oh, getting another one that measures bad. Is it the bad though? I doubt it. No, it's probably some coating or something on this board, although that one doesn't look too good. Is that the same value as the others? It is 1 mite 50 volt. Yeah, well, that's more like what they should measure anyway, I would have thought. Maybe not that high, but... God, these connections do not want to make 0.88. Not sure if these are the same value, but 1.1. Now it's 3.5. Yeah, made a liar of me. Yeah. as they often do. But anyway, let's give it a check over. I'm going to clean up the displays and the bit behind the displays, because that's all pretty dirty stuff. Nice edge connectors there. That's why this stuff was so expensive. It's very well built. But they didn't know much better in the 70s. They hadn't worked out how to cheat and make it all cheap and nasty by then. They were still very well engineered. Probably sort of conservatively engineered in those days. But at least when you did pay a lot of money for something, you got your money's worth out of it, because it basically went forever. I mean, a few switches that are damaged through in the environment this thing's been in, maybe even after it was retired. And 140 capacitor is pretty good for something that's 50 years old. We may find other issues yet. I don't know if this thing's going to weigh stuff properly or not, but it seemed to be showing signs that the weighing part was working again. So I'll put all these back in place, and I'll just give them a clean once I'll stop touching them. They go in a lot easier than they come out, at least. I like to keep them in the same spots, but I think they're all orange, like I say. There's no red ones to get in the wrong holes or anything. I was for a moment thought they might have been different colours, but they've all got the same part number on the back. Yeah, definitely all the same. Give that a quick clean. And what I might do is just actually fire this up while it's loose and just confirm that all these displays are orange. In many ways it'd probably look better if it was all orange, but I guess they wanted to delineate the different displays a bit so that customer looks at the red one, which is the total, rather than the one which is the weight plus price, because the customer side gets to see the same as the other side, and the user gets to see just all in red, although one's got yellow, one's got blue filter on it, and one's got red and red. So they've basically gone through a red. You'd think they just used the orange. Maybe the orange didn't show up as well. Oh, that's not cleaned up the best. Yeah, they got, or actually, they got yellow and blue, so they go through the red before they go yellow and blue, which is kind of weird. I don't know why you wouldn't just have the orange, but there must be a reason for it if they put it in there. Maybe it's just easier to have a strip the whole way along. But anyway, let's clean that up. I could clean the back of them, but I don't think that's worth it. But that's the electronics of this thing. Wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be. I wasn't really expecting it to be Japanese made, to be honest. A lot of these things were still American or something. I thought we might have some really old chips in it, old ceramic and gold coated chips, something like that, just, or some more older logic chips from America or wherever. It's got 7705 there, might be the date code. A lot of these Hitashi's got 7C or 7D, whether that's something to do with the year. So D is the fourth letter of the alphabet. Is it 74? C is the third. Could be 73. There's an E. So 75. Yeah, hard to know when these would have been made, but it's somewhere in that era. If they came out around 73, they probably would have gone through to 78 or something before they put another model out. There was another one with this unit when I bought it. I think it was a vacuum fluorescent display. No idea if it was the same brand or anything, but there were two scales there. And I was loath to even buy this one, to be honest, because they're not the most exciting things. But when I saw it had these old school displays, I thought it'd be worth getting just for an example of those. See if I can get it up and running and get some light out of these. In many ways, just keeping this unit would probably be the best thing and get rid of the rest of it. You could just make a little cool display piece out of it, because I don't think many people collect scales. Someone probably does. There's bound to be a few people out there, but I don't think they're a particularly popular thing to collect. It'd look alright on a counter of some of these people that make reproduction sort of takeaway stores or just corner stores with all the shelves stacked with all the stuff they used to sell back in the 70s or 80s or whatever. This would actually look good on the front counter. Though I guess it's really more of a fresh produce section machine. Or something they'd use in a supermarket maybe, as you used to weigh your own stuff on them, I think, and they'd print out a label for you. That's my memory of it. Back in the sort of, at least the early 80s. And I'm not sure what happened. Did they put a barcode on them later when the barcode machines came in the early 80s? Can't remember. But you could weigh your own vegetables and get it to print out a tag for it. That's my memory of it. Some stores, they weighed them at the checkout. Other ones, I think you weighed them yourself and put your own sticker on there. But that's more the sort of place you'd find one of these. Maybe some people had over-the-counter veggies or whatever, fruit, and would weigh them up for you. Or I guess they could have one of these on the counter and you bring it up to whatever you want, so many apples in a bag or whatever, and they weigh them and price them at the checkout. But that's why this probably had the option of a printer and stuff potentially. Oh well, I'll clean up the rest of the unit and I'll fire that up and see if it actually comes up all orange, which it must do, I think. And there it is with the display sitting on top of the unit without any filtering. So yeah, nice orange neon. Admittedly, this camera is not getting it quite as nice as it looks in the real world. Probably compensating for the... That's more like what it looks like. Even that's not getting how orange it really is. It's definitely got that neon orange colour. And this thing I think is basically working, other than it's not really going into zero anymore. But it is registering stuff, and for some reason my 4 key that I repaired has decided not to work. If we put a price in there, press on it, and it's calculating from the weight that's there what the actual value is as far as price. But yeah, it's looking a lot better. Given it a bit of a clean inside. It was absolutely filthy. Clean that black plastic bit there. And it's looking a lot better. But that's what those displays are like. I can see why people like them. They're kind of cool looking now. Back in the day, just threw the things away because the problem was you need a high voltage source and chips to drive them and stuff, which you could have got out of one of these old units since it's got drivers and stuff, but generally we didn't sort of think that sort of thing was worth the bother. Most multiplex displays are not much used to hobbyists and stuff. No one else wanted them. Okay, I removed the little oil damper out of this thing, mainly just so I could tip it up and have a look at a couple of things. And it's got some sort of darker brown stuff in there. At first I thought, is that just more viscous stuff? But the fact is, as you move it, it separates and sits on top. So I assume probably got some sort of water or something in there, which probably isn't too good. Or someone's put the wrong sort of oil in. It looks like this top unscrews. But I don't think that's our main problem. There is an adjustment on this that sort of sets the height of this thing. But again, don't think that's a problem. I'm having trouble getting the thing zeroed. I can set the zero without the metal weighing piece on there. But as soon as I put the main bit in there, I can't get it to zero. And even when I'm doing that, it's very picky. Yeah, and the other thing I found, this little bit actually just pops out. I thought, isn't it nice of them to include a couple of spare fuses? But I've just discovered, which is the reason I've pulled the oil thing out. How do we get this off here? Looks like someone must have used one of them. It actually uses lamps. I knew it said online that it had an optical sensor in there, but that's what these must be. These must be spare lamps. Because I've just found it has a fuse type lamp in there. Ah, there you go, just got to push it. It's harder than you would hope. Given how brittle these things tend to get with age. What does it say on here? 0.3 amp and 8 volts. I was going to say, I bet it's an 8 volt. So these would actually be good in some hi-fi equipment. The one in there probably needs a clean, which may not be helping things. I'm not sure it's causing the issues with the zeroing and stuff. Also found out that my number 4 button I thought was faulty. I just hadn't soldered in. For some reason, out of all the buttons in there, the only pin that didn't solder on was one side of the number 4. Typical would be one that I've attempted to fix, so that's working again. And I found the other button, the unmarked one there, actually has had the wire cut to it, and when you put it back in, it resets the weight. And it also takes the decimal point out of the price setting for some reason. Okay, so taking the back off the bit between the displays up here and the base bit. Get a couple of screws, takes the back cover off. And I found out this little screw thing, I thought it was some sort of adjustment. But instead you take it out and there's a light globe. And that one's quite dirty. I don't know that it matters, but I'll give it a clean anyway, I think. Just clean the muck off it with a cotton bud. Oh, I dropped it, and I can see one end of the filament flicking around, so good thing they got some spare ones, because that one just blew. Where do we go in there? We've got a little optical sensor here, and this is the big sort of thing with little, it's got 2 tracks of very fine lines in there, and as you press on it, this comes down. But I suspect this spring's hanging a bit too low because I can't get the zero back up high enough. It actually has to come back a bit further, and if we turn this thing on, now I can't see it from here, but there's a light globe lit up. Might be able to see the little points of light on the back of this thing. And the display doesn't like to come on until you're past the 0 or zeroed. Where does the 0 light come on? It's flicking up around there somewhere. And you can see a little pattern of lights. I don't know what is going on in there, but these little lights seem to be changing. They start flickering and carrying on, or whatever's coming out there, but it looks like there's 4 different sensors, so I wonder if there's like an early CD player pickup. I probably shouldn't mess with it, but I'm going to have to pull that apart, I think, and see what it actually is. I assume it's just 4 photo transistors or photo diodes, but I'm interested why it's a bit weird. It's like something's out when you try to zero it. I guess we take those 2 screws, we can get the whole assembly out. Might be better than fiddling with the assembly itself. And I'm just wondering if there's some dirt on it or something, because it certainly could be something like that on the actual grating thing. It wouldn't take much to mess the thing up, I wouldn't think. It's got a second little bit over these bits, another grill thing, as well as the main one, so we're getting some probably sort of interference patterns. And there's this other little bit here. What's the bit? That's it. That's to do with setting our 0. Is there another sensor? How many we got? Maybe there is another sensor there. Got a pair of wires there. 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, we do have a 5th sensor. So that other bit, I would guess that set of lines, I'm guessing those 5 lines are what set the 0, because I thought it must have something different to do that. Looks like sort of rectangular photodiodes or something in there. Bit hard to tell what we're actually looking at. I think they're reasonably clean at least. I think the grating is clean. I'm not sure. Is this just a mesh, or is it printed on something? Do I dare risk trying to clean it? I think it's a very fine, probably much like an etched TV shadow mask or something, or aperture grill in this case, I guess. I think that's a very finely etched bit of metal. Where's those particular? They look alright. I think there's the odd little bit of dust on here, but yeah, you can hear it's very much like a shadow mask. I reckon they're probably using the same factory or something, to same technology to etch this out for them. Bit of dirt coming off it, but I don't know that was really causing any issues. So it's really just a light, which hopefully you can now see. There's a lens there. Is that lens clean? Hard to tell. That would be another thing that probably needs a clean occasionally. Whether I can get up under there and do it. Well, I'm touching on something. Might bend the end of the cotton bud up a bit. But given how dirty this thing is, it probably wouldn't hurt to give it a clean. But I really do not want to go touching this little aperture thing. I don't think I can even get under there to get to the lens without risking bending that. I assume it somehow comes apart. You can take the bracket off, but I don't think we're that desperate to worry about it. Oh yeah, maybe I can just get under there. Don't think it's particularly dirty. A little bit of muck came off it, but somehow I doubt that was our issue. So it's that bit there that we're, I guess, worried about, is getting the zero bit to there. Where does it sit? The problem with it, you can't see a damn thing when it's together. But it does explain why it's pretty picky, but something must be wrong in the mechanical alignment. The only real adjustment is there's a stopper in there, and there's that oil thing has a little bit of adjustment, which I don't think sets the particular height, but there is something at the top of the spring by the look of it. You've got to take the display board back out. Maybe that's how we're meant to set it. Okay, well, gone about as far as I'm going to go with this thing. It's mostly back together. Cleaned it up a bit. I did have it zeroed just by messing with a optical bit at the back, but now it's just decided it's going to change, and it tends to do that. Hard to get that zero light to stay fixed. I think you've got to adjust it underneath this board here. But the thing's basically running. Before it was holding the weight after you pressed it there. Now it seems to do what I would have thought it should, which is get rid of that. We could put a price in there. And that seems to be working. Oh, that's resetting off there too. Okay, so something else has changed. This thing is pretty crazy at being unreliable, because if you put the price in, it should actually hold that. And it was before. Or is that because it's the zeros not zeroing? Yeah, very weird. Everything used to lock in there and you couldn't actually clear the weight out of it because they've disabled that clear key. Now it's actually, yeah, now it's doing that flashing. So it's a bit iffy depending whether it gets back to zero or not. I had to take all the little weights out of there that was sitting in that centre bit, so I've put them in a bag for now. And just putting that bit back on, I gave that a clean up because it was all rusty and a little bit of a file just to make it look a bit better. But it's basically working. It's got a few little niggly things with it. Needs a new power cord and really wants a 22 microfarad capacitor to get up to the right amount in there, but the display seems to be working pretty well. I'll just flip it around so we can have a look at the back ones. And now they're dropping out as well, but that's the customer's view. They get a couple of orange displays. Oh, we've gone back to zero now that I've moved it. It's pretty crazy. Very picky. If you have a slight reading on there, tends to stay on there, but it also has some sort of reset function there, and now they're staying on, so it's very picky, that optical thing. Really wants a full setup, I guess. An adjustment of the spring itself. Now what happens if we put the price in? Yeah, it used to lock in there, so now it's not for some reason. So I'm not sure, it was weird because it kept locking the weight in there even if you cleared the price. But now it seems to be letting up. I mean, it should in theory just show it while you're in there. I guess we're going to put the price in now. 45 cents a kilo. Let's put some other stuff on there. So that's what you'd expect, and then you take the stuff off, it should sort of reset back to zero. Zero lights on. So it's pretty random, this thing. I don't know exactly how it's meant to operate, but it's close to where it should be. Unfortunately a bit busted out of it there. But it cleaned up better than I was expecting. I've still got to put the base back on. I'm not going to put it all back together until I decide whether to get a new cap for it, but really I don't think it's much good for anything, this thing. Probably should have just pulled all the displays out of it and put them on eBay. But at least there's some driver stuff there for the displays. There's a transformer. And I guess that would probably be the thing to actually try and do something with these displays. That one definitely looks more yellow because the yellow filter. The other one's just got a red filter on it, but it's an orange display. And the white one's just, as it comes through, well, that's actually got a blue filter on it. I lie, that actually isn't just how it is clear. And they've got 5-digit displays everywhere. They've just hidden one of the digits behind there. And now it's doing some weird sort of stuff, and I think it does drop off eventually. Once you leave it for a bit, it'll just dim all the displays down, which I guess is probably normal. But yeah, interesting old bit of gear. I didn't pay much at all for this. I just thought it'd be kind of cool to have something with some of these old displays. I expected some more interesting old chips in there, but they're not that interesting, unfortunately. But maybe these displays are better off put to use somewhere else. And I doubt there's many of these old Digi things around anymore. Would have cost a fortune in its day. So maybe just how level we have it is making it a bit different. You're meant to get these things level, so that's probably what's affecting it. The zero lights coming on and off. So they are pretty picky machines. And I did run this without I originally got it set to the zero by adjusting that little sensor thing in there, and I didn't have that oil thing back in there, and that thing was bouncing around all over the place. The spring took ages to settle down, so the zero light was flickering quite fast, and then it slowed down. So that's what that oil damper's in there for. The spring really just resonates for ages afterwards. The slightest bump and everything just springs around, but as soon as you get the damper in there, it settles down immediately. So that's what that oil damper's for. She was really carrying on with vibrations before. But I think that's about all I do with this thing. I've wasted more time on it than I probably should have. But not very often you get to play with some weird old thing like this. So that's the old neon displays. They weren't long lived. This came out around 73. And they're probably still available up until about 1980 or something. Probably still came out in a few things. But LEDs were improving. Vacuum fluorescent displays also took over. And were developing at the same time. And then LCD, of course, that probably wasn't far behind either. Though not necessarily what you want in this size of equipment. But in a well-lit area, LCD is pretty much as effective. You don't really need these things to light up necessarily. So it's a bit of old school technology that was only around during one decade really, and was sort of the end result of neon Nixie tube type technology. Finally got down to a flat pack, but of course it needs high voltage. There's actually some cool old Russian ones I looked up online, all these different things. They had some green ones, they used some sort of phosphor and a thyrotron or some weird technology in there. I think they needed 3 different high voltages, but then you can run them directly off 5 volts or something, which was kind of good. but the 3 high voltages not so practical, and they had some weird coloured dot display and stuff, so there's all sorts of tech in this era. Basically vacuum tube type technology. And yeah, the main issue with it is, yeah, amount of power consumption, potentially the heat that it runs at, which is probably not that bad with neon because they don't use a lot of power and they probably don't get too hot either. And their high voltage is the main issue, having to run them off high voltages instead of just one low voltage rail that runs the chips that drive them and the displays. That's probably their biggest failing, really. But anyway, that's as far as I'll go with that one, so thanks for watching.